So today we'll learn about the title is a little bit funny because it says using a child or non-Jew for melacha and Shabbat when there's a danger to life, but it's actually not using that. But I don't know that we can do that in English. Like you can start a sentence with not. So we're going to learn that you prefer to actually use a Jewish person, a Jewish adult, to do this because of several reasons. So. As we have seen above in chapter 25 and also other places, a Jew who performs melacha on Shabbat violates Torah law, whereas a Jew who asks a non-Jew to perform melacha for him violates rabbinic law. So just as a reminder, if somebody, for example, cooked on Shabbat deliberately, either because they're secular or they forgot or whatever, then they are never allowed to eat that food. And a Jewish person uh, can, according to the third opinion in the Gemara and the Mishnah, can eat the food after the time that it took to cook it. So let's say that you are making a soup and it takes about an hour to boil, then that's how long we have to wait after Shabbat ends. But the person himself is not allowed to ever do it, ever enjoy what they had, and actually ties a little bit to the Mishnah class this morning where we learned that you're not allowed to betroth the wife with something that is asur b'ana, something that is forbidden to have any pleasure or enjoyment from. So, similarly, a minor who performs melacha on Shabbat only transgresses rabbinically. Consequently, it would seem at first glance that when it is necessary to do melacha in order to save a sick person, it is preferable to ask a non-Jew or a child to do so, thereby minimizing Shabbat desecration. However, the sages stated and the previous page of Yoma that we learned, page 85 yesterday and the day before. Um, However, the sages stated that these things should not be done by non-Jews or children, but rather by adult Jews. This means that even if a non-Jew or child is present, one should not ask them to do the melacha. Only an adult Jew should do it. Rishonim offer two possible explanations for this rule. First, it is possible that a non-Jew or a child will hesitate and not act aggressively enough to help the sick person. Second, even when it is clear that they will act aggressively enough, or strongly enough, I guess, we are concerned that those present might incorrectly conclude that an adult Jew may not desecrate Shabbat in order to help someone who is dangerously ill. And this is a very broad definition. We saw yesterday that if the person themselves know that in the past they came into danger, even though to the doctors it seemed not dangerous, then we believe them that they need certain things. Then, if faced with a similar situation sometime in the future, they, meaning the people that saw this, seeking out a non-Jew or child, might delay helping in order to look for a non-Jew or child. In the meantime, the sick person might die. That's the explanation of the Ran. And the Riaz, I'm not sure what his the acronym stands for, but therefore the Rishonim write that if many people are available to help the sick person, it is a mitzvah for the most respected person present to do so, thus making it clear to everyone that saving a life overrides Shabbat and that there is no need to seek ways to minimize the melacha. I don't know if we shared this story before or not, and this is, I think, the third time that I beat AI because AI said that there is no connection between Yom Kippur and Kolira, and I know a story that does, so I'm surprised that AI doesn't have it. The story goes more or less that in Kauna, which is in Lithuania today, there was a cholera plague, and the rabbi asked the Chazan on the bima before they started Kol Nidre to not proceed with Kol Nidre, but to make Kiddush and Motzi, and they both ate on the bima and canceled all the prayers because they knew that if they didn't do that, people will still try to fast and they might die because cholera is a very high fever and stomach, and they could get dehydrated, and so that's what they did, even though the two of them were not sick. So again, the Chashuv B'Israel, as it's called in the Halacha. If the situation is less pressured and it is easy to find a non-Jew or a child to do the necessary melachot, and doing so will not cause any delay, then even though the lechatchila an adult Jew may do whatever melacha is necessary to save a life, it is optimal, greater enhancement to minimize Shabbat desecration by having a non-Jew or child perform the melachot. However, if there is even the slightest, tiniest shadow of a doubt that using a non-Jew or child will delay the provision of life-saving treatment, either now or in the future, it is better for an adult Jew to do the melacha. So maybe this sounds like a little bit like a diversion, but Rav Ovadia Yosef, they still publish his daily halacha, even though he passed away, I don't know, almost 20 years ago, or so. So he writes that when a woman is going to give birth, so if the frequent contractions start before Shabbat, she should get in a car immediately before Shabbat and go. But if it's just started, after candle lighting, then she and her husband or other relative who is Jewish are allowed to accompany them. That's based on the Mishnah, even though they can't actually help with the delivery because they don't know how or whatever, but that's for the easement of her mind. But he does point out something interesting about muktzeh. So normally, if you are going on Shabbat and you're about to give birth and you have your bag packed already, you usually don't have your wallet or keys or telephone in the bag because you used them, on Friday. So what he suggested is that if there is a child in the family that can carry the wallet and phone and put them into the bag, then it's what's called basisa davar mutar v'astur, a basis for something that is allowed to be carried on Shabbat together with something that isn't. We learned about that when we learned the laws of muktzeh. And so he just says if there's no delay, then because she'll probably need the phone on Motzei Shabbos, the cell phone, or the wallet, then it is allowed to take them. But if there is a child present, then they can put the things in the bag that are muktzah. And again, only if there is no delay, because once the contractions start, she is called cholah sheyesh bo sakana. And we also learned in that daf in Yoma 85a and b that if a blind woman is giving birth and she doesn't know if it's day or night, but she asks us to light a candle, then even though she will never find out if we did or not, that is another important halacha. And two of my children were born on Shabbat, and the middle one was born on Seder night. So I came back from shul. I hope she's okay with me sharing the story, but I came back from shul and we were having a meal by somebody else, and my ex-wife said, we're going to the hospital now, and I foolishly asked if we can stay at least for the first cup. So anyway, she was born 4 hours later, and we did go right away to the hospital, and so we'll stop here and open up for questions.